The Cellcast is recorded in front of a live streaming audience.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who, well, is starting to see things because he's told me he just saw a little girl outside our door, but there's no one there. He said she was, what, an inch tall?
Something like that.
Are you feeling all right?
I think so.
Is this pre-wedding jitters?
I don't know.
6-8 months in advance?
I don't know. Be like, are my glasses working?
Yes. I hope so.
Working. I thought I saw something.
Crazy is what you are.
Get in line, pal. Why, thank you. Let me introduce our co-host. A man who just likes to go out in the backyard and hang out with the cat. Welcome, Drew.
Well, when the best things in life is just finding a nice sunbeam to lay down in the grass, I mean, can you blame me? I'm sorry. My spirit animal is a cat in search of a sunbeam, and such things exist. And by that, I mean spirit animals.
Yes.
Yeah, today we are reviewing the film The Secret World of Arrietty.
Yeah.
This is our last film of Miyazaki and Ghibli month this year. And then we're going to be reviewing something special in our TAS segment, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, you want to just go ahead and jump into this thing?
Yeah, let's do that.
Certified fresh and spoiler free.
This is actually my second viewing of this movie.
Okay.
I actually this was the only other Disney released Studio Ghibli film I got to see in theaters. Every other one was after it went to G Kids.
Okay.
So and I went simply because it's like, oh, it's Studio Ghibli. And at that time I thought all Studio Ghibli was Miyazaki.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't realize this wasn't Miyazaki.
No.
He wrote the screenplay for it, but it's not a Miyazaki made directed film.
Right.
And this isn't his son either. This is some other guy.
Yeah.
And actually he was younger than Goro was when Goro directed Tales from Earthsea. So because this guy was actually the youngest director in Studio Ghibli history.
Really?
Yeah. Except for because the one from Ocean Waves, even though that was all meant to be younger people, was still one of the senior members. But anyway,
Gotcha.
So yeah, I know nothing about what it comes from.
Yeah.
I think last week I actually messed up and said that this was based on the same franchise as The Indian in the Cupboard. I'm completely wrong there. This is the same franchise that did The Borrowers, which is what the book is, what the movie is based on, that book. Which I've not seen that movie either. So, c'est la vie. But yeah, this was a fun little movie. I've got some issues, which we'll get to, but for the most part, it was a fun time.
Yeah.
I do suggest it if you're looking for a intro Studio Ghibli movie, maybe not the best example of what Studio Ghibli can do, but either way. What are your thoughts on this one?
My spoiler-free thoughts on The Secret Life of Arriety. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. Or Secret World of Arrietty.
Secret World of Arriety. That's right. Secret World of Arriety.
Which is only the English name.
Yeah. This was my first time watching it. There again, I had never heard of this film before it got put in the docket.
Which is interesting because you gave me a movie poster for this film.
That is true.
It's I still in my closet. I hadn't had a chance to get it put up. But
yeah. Okay. So I correct myself because I was at a movie studio, and every once in a while I'll be like, hey, do you have any movie posters? She's like, yeah, sure, go check it out. And I found this one, had no idea what it was. I know what Studio Ghibli was. It was like The Secret World of Arriety. It's like, okay. So, and then we started doing the podcast, and then it's like, oh, Drew will like that. He likes, anime and Ghibli stuff. He'll like this.
By this point, we had not actually reviewed a Ghibli film.
No, we hadn't yet.
I had it on the dice, as well as the dice worked for that sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back in the day when we used to use dice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I I had a poster. I'd seen a poster of the film, never seen a lick of footage. And then it gets put on the docket for Ghibli Month this year. And I watched it, I believe, the other day. And I was like, wow, this is a good movie.
It's a well animated.
It's well animated, very good story. It's a Ghibli film through and through.
Mm-hmm.
Like Drew said before, it's like, Hayao Miyazaki or his son are not involved with it. Oh, correction, be like he did write the screenplay.
He did write the screenplay.
He did write the screenplay.
That's the only thing he did for this one, because he was already working on. Well, he had already retired and came back
right
to work on his next one, which we'll review next year. But
overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It was a lot of fun. It was Ghibli through and through. And I've seen some Ghiblis that I was kind of like at, or the Ocean Waves was just like, okay, I don't like this character. But overall, I've enjoyed our journey through Studio Ghibli films.
After this one, we will only have 7 movies.
7.
That is counting the one that's releasing next week.
Yeah, the boy and the heron.
Boy and the heron, or heron and the boy.
Yeah,
it's your life story.
Thanks. If he has a dog, I'm gonna laugh.
If he has a dog, it's not been in the trailer. So
it's like,
if he gets turned into a dog, that will be hilarious.
It's like, it's my life story. What the heck?
Anyway,
yeah, I enjoy it. Definitely go if you have the opportunity to go watch it. It's on Max. If you're subscribed to Max, it's on Max, right?
I believe so.
Okay.
I didn't look this up.
Okay.
Because like you, I watched the Blu-ray.
Yeah, I did too.
So
yeah, so apparently it's on Max. So while it's there, go check it out.
I think nearly all the Ghibli stuff I think is on Max now.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I would highly recommend anybody.
Till Discovery decides just to cancel everything.
Don't say that.
Anyway, you ready to jump into the full spoiler-filled section? The following is a spoiler-filled review for the film The Secret World of Arrietty. I did it right now. Listener discretion is advised. Karigurashi no Arrietty, literally Arrietty the Borrower, as we know it in English, The Secret World of Arrietty, was directed by Hiromasa Yonibayashi, who would later go on to direct a film not for Studio Ghibli, but for Studio Pontiac, called Mary and the Witch's Flower, a very Ghibli-esque film
inspired,
made by people who left Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, because that was the thing when
previous employees of Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, because when I saw that trailer, I was like, oh, this is a Ghibli film,
and it's not.
It's not.
It was written by Hayao Miyazaki and Keiko Niwa, and is based on the novel The Borrowers by Mary Norton. Getting into the cast for this is, of course, the English cast. And I should be more specific. This is for the Disney English, the North American English cast, as there is an entirely different European English cast.
I heard about that.
Tom Holland is on the European cast.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Makes me like, I want to see that version. Anyway, English, the North American English cast. We've got Arrietty being played by Bridget Mendler, and she played a character named Becca in Alvin and the Chipmunks: The Squeakquel.
Oh, the live action hybrid.
The second one.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. Sean, or as he's more well known in the original version as Show, was played by David Henry, and in the Disney Channel original television show Wizards of Waverly Place, along with a bunch of other Disney Channel shows, he played a character named Justin Russo.
Yes.
Homily was played by Amy Poehler, and she was Joy in Inside Out. Pod was played by Will Arnett.
Yes.
And he played Vernon Fenwick in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows.
Oh,
Bay Turtles.
Yeah. Bay Turtles. The second one.
The
better one.
Yeah, the better one, ironically.
The better one.
Hara was played by Carol Burnett.
Yeah. Hold on. Which one was Hara again?
That was the villain, technically, of this.
Oh,
the
yeah.
The maid working
The
in
maid.
the office.
Okay, gotcha.
She is, of course, a comedian and was the host of the very popular Carol Burnett show.
yes.
Jessica, that is
The ant.
The ant.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I don't have her actual Japanese name written down anywhere, because she and Sean were the only two that had different names, had
I got
European names in this very Japanese setting.
Yeah.
But she was played by Gracie Moore, and she just did a voice on in the movie The Accidental Spy. I didn't have much to pick for her from.
Okay.
Last but not least, Spiller was played by Moises Arias, and in Nacho Libre, he played Juan Pablo, aka the orphan that talked the most to Jack Black.
Oh, okay. So what's this actor's name?
Spillers? Moises Arias? I'm probably not saying his name.
Yeah,
right.
that's a cool name.
Yeah. It's Hispanic, I can tell you that much.
Yes.
But yeah. Kingdom Hearts connections.
Yeah.
How many do you think we have?
Oh, this is a 2011 film, 2010.
Bear in mind, you have to pick. You have to keep in mind the English North American cast,
Yes.
the English European cast, and the Japanese cast.
Yeah. And also they might be in Smash Brothers.
Yes.
Oh.
Though not as likely with these,
I
because
gotcha.
these are generally better actors. That sounds horrible. These are generally more well-known actors.
There we go.
That's what I meant.
There we go. I would say I'd give it 5.
Lower.
3.
Lower.
2.
Lower.
1.5.
How do you get a half?
I don't know. 1.
Lower. It's 0. What? There, I could not find a single connection to Kingdom Hearts in this, despite the fact it's a Disney cast. No Russie Taylor, no Jim Cummings, no any of the standard people who they throw in these things.
Yeah.
Not a single one. Makes no sense to me.
Wow. Okay. So to quote a famous Green Archer, be like, "You have failed this city."
Disney
Podcast.
So yeah, no Kingdom Hearts connections this week, which is just weird.
That is weird.
Until I don't know, maybe the next Kingdom Hearts 4 comes out and the Inside Out's thing, and then we can throw Joy in there. But anyway, that's a guess. I don't know.
Maybe.
We don't know any of the worlds for Kingdom Hearts 4 yet because we literally just barely know it exists.
That is true.
So, what do we got in info and stuff?
All right. So info and stuff. IMDb have a 7.6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has a 95%. Production. Well, I made a slight error there. Watch is be able to watch on Max. Production was Studio Ghibli. Distributed by in Japan was Toho. Originally here in the States was Walt Disney Studio Motion Pictures, and then later on G Kids. Release date for Japan was July 17th, 2010, and here in the United States was February 17th, 2 years later in 2012. Box office, starting with Japan. Arriety debuted at the first position in the Japanese box office. More than 1 million people went to go see the film during its opening run. Whoa, Chimneys. It grossed around 2.35 billion yen that weekend. Snap. Distributor Toho announced that as of August 5th, 2010, the film managed to gross over 3.5 billion yen and attracted more than 3.7 million viewers, according to the Motion Picture Producers Association in Japan. Arriety is the top grossing Japanese film in their box office of the year of 2010. It grossed an approximately 9.25 billion yen, or that converted into American would be $110 million. All right, so going into the US, it had an estimated budget of $23 million. Its US opening was $6.4 million on February 19th, 2012, here in the United States and Canada for its opening. Its gross for US and Canada was at 19.5 million, and its worldwide gross was $149.4 million. So home release starting in Japan, then come here over here to the States. Arriety was released as part of the Studio Ghibli collection from Disney Japan, both on Blu-ray disc and DVD format within Japan. The DVD version of the film consists of two discs in the Region 2 format. The Blu-ray version consists of a single disc in a Region A format. Both versions were released in Japan on the 17th of June of 2011. Both contained English and Japanese subtitles. Coming here to the States, the film was released by originally Walt Disney Studio Home Entertainment on DVD, as well as DVD and as well as a Blu-ray and DVD combo pack on May 22nd, 2012 here in the United States. G Kids later would re-release the film on Blu-ray and DVD on November 21st, 2017 under the new deal with Studio Ghibli. There is no sequels currently slated for this movie.
And not likely to either.
Mm-hmm.
So, getting into the summary for this one.
Yes.
A boy named Sean, or as he's more well known, Sho, remembers the week in summer he spent at his mother's home with his maternal great aunt, Sadaka. That's Jessica's real Japanese name.
Got it.
Just scrolled down, I would have seen that. And her housemaid, Haru. When Sean arrives, he gets a glimpse of Arriety, a borrower girl, returning to her home through an underground air vent. At night, Arrietty's father, Pod, takes her on her first borrowing mission to get sugar and tissue paper. After obtaining a sugar cube from the kitchen, they travel to a bedroom, which they enter through a dollhouse. It is Sean's bedroom. He sees Arriety when she tries to take a tissue from the table. Startled, she drops the sugar cube. Sean tries to comfort her, but Pod and Arriety leave. The next day, Sean puts the sugar cube and a little note beside the air vent. Pod warns her not to take it because their existence must be kept secret from humans. Nevertheless, she sneaks out to visit Sean in his bedroom without showing herself. She tells him to leave her family alone, and they soon have a conversation, which is interrupted by a crow. The crow attacks Arriety, but Sean saves her. On her return home, Arriety is intercepted by her father. Realizing they have been detected, Pod and his wife Homily decide they must move out. Sean learns from Sadako that some of his ancestors had noticed the presence of borrowers in the house and had the dollhouse built for them. The borrowers have not been seen since. Pod returns home from a borrowing mission and is helped home by Spiller, a survivalist boy he met. Sean removes the floorboard concealing the borrower household and replaces their kitchen with the kitchen from the dollhouse, and he hopes for them to stay. However, the borrowers are frightened by this and speed up their moving process. Pod recovers and Arriety bids farewell to Sean. Sean apologizes that he had forced them to move out and reveals that he has a heart condition since birth and will have an operation in a few days. The operation does not have a good chance of success. He is accepting saying that every living thing dies. Haru notices the floorboards have been disturbed. She unearths the borrower's house and captures Homily. Alerted by her mother's screams, Arriety goes to investigate. Saddened by her departure, Sean returns to his room. Haru locks him in and calls a pest control company to capture the borrowers alive. Arriety comes to Sean for help, and they rescue Homily, and he destroys all traces of the borrower's presence. On their way out during the night, the borrowers are spotted by the cat Nia. Thereupon, Nia leads Sean to the river, a small rivulet, where the borrowers are waiting for Spiller to take them further. Sean gives Arriety a sugar cube and tells her that she will always be a part of him and that her courage and the borrower's fight for survival have made him want to live through the operation. In return, Arriety gives him her hair clip, a small clothespin, as a token of remembrance. The borrowers leave in a floating teapot with Spiller in search of a new home. Only in the Disney International dubbed version does it contain the final monologue, where Sean states that he never saw Arriety again. He returns to the house a year later, indicating that the operation had been successful. Happily, he overhears rumors of objects disappearing in neighbors' houses. But that's only in the Japanese version.
You mean the English version?
English version, yeah. Getting into the trivia for this. 7,500,000 people saw the movie in theaters, as you said, an all-time record in Japan for a movie with a first-time director. At 36 years old, Hiromasa Yonebayashi was the youngest person to direct a movie for Studio Ghibli. The story takes place in 2010 in Western Tokyo's neighborhood of Kogane. Kogane is also where Studio Ghibli is located. In the borrower's home, they have 3 cups with playing card symbols: a heart, a diamond, and a club. The only symbol they do not have is the spade, which in many cultures is actually considered to be bad luck. This is the 4th feature film from Studio Ghibli to not be directed by executive producer and writer Hayao Miyazaki or studio co-founder Isao Takahata.
Okay.
There are 2 English dubs, as I said. There is a British English dub distributed by Studio Canal, released in 2011 in the United Kingdom, and the Disney dub in the United States, released in 2012. This makes the 6th Studio Ghibli film dubbed in English twice, and the first since Porco Rosso. Executive producer and writer Hayao Miyazaki began the development stages in July 2008. His original plans included a runtime of 80 minutes, and this movie was to be titled Chisana Arriety, or Little Arriety. This is the last Studio Ghibli anime film to have the English dub distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures before G-Kids took over. Though technically the last dub produced is The Wind Rises.
Yeah.
But Disney didn't want to put that one out for some reason. A raccoon from the film Pompoko appears at the end of the movie.
That's what I thought.
When Arriety and her parents leave the house.
Yeah.
And that's what I've got for trivia. What are your thoughts on this film? Your first like, I should say.
My first like would actually be the world of the borrowers. I want to say the Littles, because there was a show back in the 80s, a little cartoon show called The Littles, and they were borrowers. So that's what reminded me of it. So I love the world of the borrowers because it's so unique. Be like the way they have crafted their way in order to get into the house and, quote unquote, borrow things. Just like the pathways and the way they build their house, or someone built their house for them, or they built their house themselves. Is very crafty, very well designed world, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'd say like the world of the borrowers and how they do things and how they again borrow in air quotes. So yeah, this the world itself. I'm not talking the world of the beings, as they're called in this film, but the world of the borrowers, and it's just so well designed, especially when the Arriety and her family have to move away, and they get to the abandoned portico, I think what it is, or the whatever that building they go to for the night. And here comes the cat just trotting up. And the cat just like within like a matter of moments is like back to the house, and like it probably took them a day to get there. Being these very small creatures, humanoids, I guess, or they're humans, but they're small.
They are probably closer to some descriptions of fae from back in the day, pixies but without wings. Maybe something akin to I think they're called brownies.
Okay,
but that's about as far as my knowledge of
fair enough
the fairy creatures it goes.
Gotcha. Yeah, from primarily coming from Norse mythology, I believe. So
Celtic,
that's right, it's Celtic. So yeah, it's just the world of the borrowers. It's so well done. Definitely when Arriety and her father go into the human world and everything is to scale for a human, and it's massive and just breathtaking to watch from their perspective. So yeah, the world itself definitely of the borrowers. That's my first like.
So one of the things I like about this film is how, depending on whose viewpoint you're looking at, even though it's the same settings in a lot of cases, you can feel a difference in size when we're looking from Sean's perspective
Mm-hmm.
and when we're looking from Arrietty's
Yeah,
perspective.
Absolutely.
That whole bit where Arriety and Pod are climbing up through the house.
Oh yeah.
I mean, sure. First thought is I'm getting a lot of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids vibes.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Ant-Man, which is like the first two movies I can think of that does this thing also. But I mean, it was so interesting. It felt so cool seeing all these big things, which is what makes when they enter the dollhouse at that one point, like you get a weird, it's a good kind of weird, but a weird kind of a sense of what do you call it, where you're thrown off, not deja vu, but it was a weird kind of juxtaposition, maybe. Because like you go from this big house, all of a sudden you're in a little house, everything is the correct size, and where did this come from? Granted, you very, very quickly realize, okay, it's a dollhouse, but at the same time, I can see how I felt the confusion at the same time Arriety did. For that, and then also talking about that the minute when they're trying to pull the tissue paper out of the Kleenex box, and she sees Sean staring at her.
Oh yeah.
Good night. I got spooked.
Yeah.
Watch us go. Holy crap.
I'm dead.
Right. Because and that all that was done so well. And then of course the when she's riding on Sean going through the house and she's having to hold on to it, you could feel like he's giant until we go to the other scene when we turn the corner, all of a sudden we're at Sean's point of view and he's just regular size. It does such a good job of conveying size differences between the two characters with their settings. And I could just very easily see them messing that up. So not because I don't think Studio Ghibli could pull it off, but just because it's a hard thing to do, period.
I agree.
So I like how the attention to detail when it comes to the size differences. In this one, that's my first like. What's your second?
My second like is Sean is a character. You have this dynamic between Sean and Arriety, where Sean is he goes to this home with an aunt where he can get some relaxation and no stress, whatever. And over the time, you get this story that like his parents are like out of the picture, they're too busy, and he's going through this big ordeal of having a heart condition at a very young age. Like I would assume that probably him and Arriety are the same age, so they're probably like 13,
approximately
12, 13 years
they're
old.
both coming of age.
But it was more of this, like, you feel bad for this kid, but he had such great optimism about things. This is the idea that, like, when you said that that he's kind of prepared himself because everything does die eventually, that we're not guaranteed a tomorrow, as scripture says. I'm stuttering like no one's business tonight.
You're fine, dude.
The overall story of Sean as a character, as we come to know him through the story and the storytelling, is so heartwarming, to use a lack of a word there. Is just it's warm, it's inviting. It's one of there again, it's a Studio Ghibli film written by Hayao Miyazaki, where you have this tenderness and you have this warmth of characters getting to know each other. And there again, with our modern age of all like, oh, everybody has to get in a relationship or hook up or whatever, where you have with Miyazaki Studio Ghibli, you have characters who are just friends, or they're really, really close. And it's really heartwarming to see that, where it's just people can be friends and they can just get along and, be friends and, lean on each other from time to time. It doesn't have to be a relationship or anything like that.
Right.
It's just, I love Sean's story. Or show? Am I saying the right? Show
in the Japanese version.
Show in the Japanese.
And probably the European and in the UK version.
Really?
Only in the Disney version they call him Sean.
Oh, okay.
And Aunt Jessica instead of Sadako.
Yeah. I I love his journey. I love his journey to his acceptance that, like, hey, I might die. There's a strong possibility I'm going to die. And he forms this very unique relationship with Arriety, two people from two very different worlds that wind up having to save both of their worlds.
Yeah.
In a large and small capacities. Yeah, I just overall enjoyed Sean's story and his relationship with Arriety.
Alrighty.
Yeah. What is your second like?
I love the animation on Hara, however you say her name.
No. Oh, yeah.
And I think and Carol Burnett's acting, of course, was top notch.
Oh, of course.
Despite the fact that she's supposed to be the villain of this, but she's not really villainous. She's just trying to prove that she's not crazy.
Yeah.
So why that mean? I say why that means she's called an exterminator. When I just realized, she wasn't calling them to help exterminate, just to help capture. I'm thinking there's probably easier ways to do that, but
true.
Whatever. Haru's character is actually based on a character from the books.
Yeah.
I don't remember the character's name in the books, but I just like the way she moved throughout this, because you could almost she moved like you would expect, like a sprightly older lady moving. Had those kind of looks on her face, on the face, the way they animated it, where it's like she's feeling like a little girl again.
Yeah, with glee and excitement.
You could see that in her face, which I loved. And but I also especially like her more cynical moments.
Oh yeah.
When the crow attacks the window, and they get the crow scared out of her. She's like, I'm gonna have to clean that up too. It's like, yeah, it's your job.
Yeah, I also love the very end where she's lost sight of the mother, and she'd be like, all of her evidence is gone, and she's losing her mind to these pest controllers. And it's such a great performance there again by Carol Burnett.
Did a great job.
She did an amazing job with that, and just like you said, the animation with that, it's just that her overall facial expressions were so well done. And again, Studio Ghibli does these amazing character animations when you can definitely want to do older characters. Yeah, they're done so well. So yeah.
What's your third like?
My third like would be the crow attack.
That is like the most visceral moment in this film.
Oh yes. So Arriety is trying to just persuade this being Sean to
leave their family alone.
Just leave the family alone, and we won't bother you. We don't have to move. And I think Sean's just more generally curious about these borrowers and who Arriety is. And once she moves into the light, and Sean can see her for the second time, this massive crow comes in and goes through the I guess we would call it a bug screen.
It's a windscreen. That's like just like the same ones on our windows here.
Yeah, it's a windscreen.
Keep the flies out.
Yeah, it's a windscreen. And just the torrent of animation when it comes to that bird who is just flocking and trying to get at Arriety.
How hungry was that bird to not just be it's one thing. Yeah, I get why the bird would attack Arriety, because she's
the size of a
morsel. Yeah, so that makes sense. But the crow is willing to fly towards a house where a giant human is, and is not spooked of the human like most birds would be.
Yeah.
How hungry was that bird?
Yeah, just
can't you attack the cat for a change? I say as a cat lover.
I think most birds are wise enough not to attack cats.
Well, attack some. It's still weird. That's all I'm saying, is that it's weird that this crow attacked Arriety at the window of the house with another human there.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I get that. But I love the animation, the ferocity of the bird moving, and Sean trying with everything he can to grab Arriety, make sure she's safe, and this whole interaction. And then what is her name? The maid?
Haru.
Or
Hara.
Haru. she comes in and it's like, oh my gosh, takes her shoe off or
Mhm.
flip flop, is just bam, 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 smacking the bird. I was like, poor crow. But
It is Hara. Sorry.
Hara. Okay, Hara. Hara smacking this poor bird, and the bird flocks off, just wow, wow, wow. It was great. And it's just like this
You gotta
brilliant.
make sure they don't get the taste of human blood or borrower blood for that matter.
Oh gosh, they might turn into a human. That's what I kept thinking. For some reason, be like, somehow Arriety is going to have some kind of connection with Sean, and there's going to be something like with a Ponyo, where it was going to be like she was going to turn into a human in some capacity, and they could, live out the rest of their days or whatever. That would have been funny or cool, but it didn't happen. It was, this movie ended very well, and with the US dub, be like, we got the, oh, Sean was okay, and and her family was okay, and apparently in the other versions there was no information on that.
I think the idea was it doesn't really matter if Sean survived the operation or if she got, or if her family got to where it is.
Yeah.
This was a moment in their lives, and their story ended when that separation occurred.
Yeah.
So there's a certain artisticness I can see with
I agree.
telling you that information. But I can also understand why Disney thought to add it in, even though I don't think Disney should have added a lot of the stuff in that they did.
Oh, I agree.
And G Kids did reverse some of the stuff we know about with that Disney did for those dubs, but this was the last change Disney made, so that we know of.
Well,
I say that because I haven't watched the next Ghibli film yet, so I don't know what, and I know that's the last one Disney actually did the dub for.
I would agree with that. I just, as an audience member, it's good to kind of have a solidarity when it comes to a character. Do they survive? Do they move on? Do they grow from the experience? And if you would have not had that epilogue, right? That'd be an epilogue.
Yeah, that's an epilogue. Basically.
Yeah, it's an epilogue to the story where we do get a solid conclusion to it's like, oh, Sean survived. The borrowers did move on to another house, and I enjoyed the ending of it. It is a wonderful film, and yeah, I would agree.
My third like for this film is the character of Pod.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Arrietty's father.
Yes.
You can see how much he loves his daughter.
Yes.
And he loves his wife, even though he's well aware that his wife is a bit of a scaredy cat.
Just a little.
Which, granted, she had good reason to be. So if we're being honest, he was such a good husband and father to Arrietty and Homily that's like, oh, you're kind of the aim here. But I loved his character, how he was willing to teach Arrietty and on how to do all that, and was still like, I don't know. I just liked his character.
Yeah,
so,
I get that. Be like, he's one of these. He's a very humble and very modest kind of guy that be like has the patience. He's very willing to just be like, okay,
he knows when to encourage. He knows the best way to he can punish without actually seeming mean.
Yeah.
Which is a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
It was done very well. I appreciated how well they did this character.
Agreed.
So yeah, Pod is my third like.
Excellent.
So we need to move on to dislikes.
Yes.
What's your first?
My first dislike, now granted this is a nitpick. Now this movie was made in 2010.
2010, yeah.
2010. I think it was like within the first few minutes, but like you get this grand scale of the landscape and the whole bit, and it's painted beautifully. And if they would have had, there's a lot of static shots with the backgrounds. There's no real movement of the camera or zooming in or zooming out. And I really, because I know in previous Ghibli films, like they would move into the background And with this movie, it really didn't. It just gave you a static shot, and you would only have movement from the foreground, the leaves or whatever. But I really wish they would have put more of an effort to maybe panning and making a wider canvas for your background or something like that. But it just seemed like all the background shots were simply just paintings.
Yeah.
And I wish they would have just made them a little more alive. Yeah, that's all I got.
My first dislike, and this is a nitpick, kind of.
Okay. Before
I did the look, I started doing research for the show, for the review. When I was just watching the movie on the second time, and I realized they're naming his character Sean and his aunt Jessica. Yet that is very obviously, she's very obviously driving on what we would think on the right-hand side of the vehicle. This is very obviously a Japanese license plate on that vehicle. We are painfully obviously in Japan.
Yeah.
These characters don't look like they're designed any differently than any of the quote unquote Japanese characters.
Yeah.
There's something wrong here.
Yeah.
Now, granted, for the most part, you probably don't even need it. It does not really matter.
Yeah.
Whether this takes place in Japan or whether it takes place in the UK.
Yeah.
It really does not matter. But I'm watching this whole thing going, why are there two Americans randomly living in Japan? I'm not saying Americans can't live in Japan, but I'm saying it's just like weird that it threw me that these two people specifically had English names in a Japanese country.
Fair.
That are not names you kind of associate in any way with Asian countries. So you throw that in there, and then of course I go and start doing the research, and I realize her name was originally Sadako, and his name was originally Sho. Granted, I follow why they chose the names they did, because those syllables match up where you could easily match flip flops when necessary.
Exactly.
But why do you make that change? Is it because you think the kids aren't going to be able to accept a Japanese name? Then why'd you name why'd you keep the maid's name as Hara? Granted, it's a simple name, but still, it's a Japanese name. That's the part I don't understand, is why Sho and Sadako's name were changed to Sean and Jessica. I don't know why that decision was made, and I feel like it shouldn't have been. It should have been left Sho and Sadako. But
fair.
Like I said, that's a nitpick. I can let that go. What's your second dislike?
My second dislike, Sean's voice actor, David Henry
or something.
Yeah,
like
David Henry. Now, Grant, be like, I'm not.
Was very laid back and dreamy, almost like he was on sedation the entire time.
Well, here's my dislike. I'm not saying be like he's not a bad actor. He's not. Yeah. I'm not downplaying his performance at all. My problem was that he sounded too old.
That's true.
He be like, yeah, this actor is obviously like in his maybe late teens, early 20s, and he's playing a 13-year-old. I'm like, okay, but he sounds too old to be this character. Because they're going back to Ponyo, be like, they're using age-appropriate actors for it. Now, granted, be like the movie does suffer in some capacity due to that.
Yeah.
But this would be like, yeah, they got a really good actor. The only problem is he sounds too old for the part.
It's very obvious he's already gone through puberty.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas this character's not supposed to have gone through that.
Yeah, or he's in the middle of the process of that. So, like, yeah, David's performance be like is good. Be like, he's got this great range and the whole bit. He's got the somber voice down, but he just sounds too old. That's be like, I just kept listening to this. I was like, wait, how old is this character? And like, he's around this age. I was like, okay, he sounds like he's 18, like 18, 19, 20 years old. And I'm like, huh. And it's like, okay. And you realize who the actor is. Like, okay, he's a good actor, but they voice cast it wrong.
Granted, they never say in the film how old he is.
Yeah.
Or what age of schooling he's in. Just like they never actually say what country they're in
Yeah.
or what town they're even in.
Yeah.
So maybe the thought process the Disney dub producers were working off of was, if we don't say how old these are, we can do what we need to do.
Yeah.
And he's kind of because he is in more of a high school, a Japanese high schoolers uniform for most of this, like pants and a white shirt, button-up shirt for the most part of this. Maybe they thought, well, he looks like he could be older than what we would normally think.
Oh, okay.
That's a guess. I don't know, because I still think I agree with you on this. That was the wrong decision.
Yeah,
I should have aimed for the age of the character and where the character grew up. So
yeah, and plus, I think with the Disney executives who chose David for this role, because David was very popular with Wizards of Waverly Place at the time.
Not to mention, it's an easy casting because he's on. He probably came to the sound booth between recordings of whatever Disney Channel original show he was on.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was easy to
he's
schedule.
right. He's
an
right there.
Easy schedule.
Yeah, he's right there.
And the same is probably true of the actress who played Arriety.
Yeah. So that is my second dislike.
My second dislike is this house is in the middle of a forest.
Yes.
Which is apparently in the middle of a city. Yet, despite the fact that we get up to the second floor and can see a little bit over the treetops, we never see the city.
No,
it's like this is supposed to be a forested area. Like, the movie starts off, you're in the city, and she just barely turns down a road where you're still obviously kind of in downtown, you're on the edge of town, and you're automatically in a forest or a forested area. And I'm going, I know I've been in places that kind of have that feel, but at the same time, you probably should still be able to. You're not out in the boondocks.
It sounds like they are, though.
It makes it look like that they are in the middle, that they are 10 miles from town.
Yeah.
No matter what, at least 10 miles from town, no matter which direction you go.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they're probably on the edge of town. They should be able to see like buildings in the distance, at least part of the skyline or something. I'm not talking about, you've got to have a full Tokyo skyline in the background or something like that. No, I'm just saying there's going to be buildings that like a clock tower or something that's going to stick up high enough that you could see from their place, because you're not actually in the country, you're on the edge of town. At best. And yet you think as soon as they turn onto that into that driveway, they're all of a sudden in another world, 200 miles from the closest bit of civilization, to the point where the exterminators can't find the house. And I'm like, how can you not find the house? It's on the edge of town. We were just there an hour ago when this movie started.
Like, what bridge? There's no bridge. Where are you going?
How did you get that far off? I mean, it's like right there. You're a block off the main road. That's what it looks like anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think that defensively, like it's this very small country road, and the house is up a hill. So,
and I get that, but if you're up on top of a hill, you should be able to see farther. You should be able to see something. For the most part, had they not shown the bit of them driving through town at the beginning, wouldn't have cared. Wouldn't matter a bit. But the thing is, you set your location this way to tell apparently the Japanese where they are just by visuals. And yet you turn up the driveway and you're in the middle of the country. Totoro is hanging around somewhere.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
That would be funny.
That would.
But yeah, I don't like the fact that we're obviously on the edge of town based on what the movie showed, and yet there's no sign of the town in any other shot in this film. And I do mean any other shot in this film. Not even the end when you're seeing Arriety and her family sailing down the culvert. It confuses me. So yeah, that's my second dislike.
Okay. My third dislike, you might hate me for this one.
I don't know why.
How do you pronounce the cat's name? Nia?
Nia or something
Nia.
like that.
Nia?
I mean, if you're gonna say you don't like the cat, honestly, I'm fine with it because they did nothing with that cat.
Yeah.
The cat could have. The cat's job was to stare down Arriety in the beginning and then lead Sean to Arriety at the end. It's the only reason the cat's there because the cat does nothing else in the rest of the film.
You stole my joke.
I'm saying.
Oh, I know. I was trying to set up a joke where it was more like worst cat ever because the cat can't catch anything. Now, granted, it's a lazy house cat. I get that. And now, granted, I'm not saying be like, oh, worst cat ever. Be like, what is Kiki's cat?
Gigi.
But like, yeah, Gigi always gonna be best cat.
Gigi is best cat.
Yeah. But I'm just like I'm there again. It is a pure joke when I say that Nia, the big lazy house cat, can't catch anything. Which I'm just saying more jokingly than anything. I'm not putting the cat under the bus, the figurative bus, or the wheels of the car or whatever. Which don't abuse people. Don't abuse cats. People, come on, people. But
or any animal for that.
Any
matter.
or another person, whatever. But
no abuse.
No abuse. No abuse.
No abuse for you.
But it's like, yeah, I was trying to make a joke out of that, but it was more like, yeah, Nia's a lazy cat. Which, like, there again,
that happens. Have you met Rowdy? That's our friend Chase's cat.
Yeah, that's a lazy cat. Kind of like Nia.
Kind of.
Except he doesn't like being held.
I don't think Nia does either, but they never showed that.
No. I mean, like, I do like that Nia is kind of warms up to Arriety and just like, it's like, okay, there's something's going on with these two. Be like, I want to make sure that.
But they don't actually show any of that because the cat does nothing between its two scenes ever on screen.
That's true.
Doesn't even interact with them. So
that's true. There again, be like, it's more of a joke to be like, yeah, Nia is the worst house cat ever. Can't even catch a little, rodent of a borrower. Yeah. So yeah, third kind of dislike.
You're stretching is what you're telling me.
Yeah, I know I'm stretching. That's the whole point. I need to borrow it from somewhere else.
Okay. This is where that half connection for Kingdom Hearts came in, isn't it?
Yeah.
My third dislike for this film. Its pacing is weird.
I would agree with that.
Granted, this is meant to be a smaller story. It's not meant to be. You're just dealing with adventures in a house, basically. And they do a good job with that. And I will say, I still think of all of the short 1 inch tall people movies we've reviewed, which is what? Thumbelina and what was the other one?
Oh,
Epic.
Yeah, Epic. Yeah.
And there was another.
No, Strange Magic.
Strange Magic, yeah. This is probably the best one we've reviewed yet.
I agree. I agree with you.
Because these are actually interesting characters.
Yes.
But the thing is, the pacing on this and the way this story is told, granted, it takes place in a weekend. And granted, he's only at this house for what, 2 weeks, probably at most.
Something like maybe half a summer.
Maybe. Well, I mean, in the course of the film, it feels like I think it's only like 2 weeks, but because he's just there until he goes in for his operation, which is apparently the week after.
Yeah.
But still, it's like the pacing on this and the way the story is told is just weird.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's just odd.
Yeah.
And I really can't put my finger on it more than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah.
Neko is trying to tell us that Toy Story probably fits this thing too. I would say no, because those are toys. And I'm not saying toys aren't people in that world.
Yeah.
But it's not the same issues.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, the toys from Toy Story are their worst concern is that Andy is no longer see them valuable anymore and just throw them away, which I think that's any fear of a, semi.
Fern Gully was the other one I was trying to think
Fern
of.
Gully.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I've been sitting here thinking, Tim Curry was in this. What is it?
Yes.
Toxic Love. What's going on?
Yeah. The movie that
the movie you made us sit in the hot van in the middle of, well, I wouldn't say the Dallas slums, but it kind of felt like the unsafe side of town.
But yeah. So what are we rating this?
That's a good question. I'm giving it a 7.5.
Oh, okay.
It's a fun little movie.
Agreed.
It's fine.
Agreed.
I wouldn't say it's a bad film. It's not my favorite. It does a good job doing what it's doing. And so, yeah, I give it a 7.5.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's a 7.5. It is there again, Ghibli film. It's done very well. I would agree with you. The pacing is a little bit odd here and there. I wish the backgrounds would have moved or had a little more fluidity to it.
A little more dynamicness.
That's better. Other than that, it's a great film. Highly recommend it. Go watch it on Max. There again, we are not sponsored by Max, but if Max wants to sponsor us, more than welcome to throw some Max goodness our way.
Though we would do like what is that guy's name, the British comedian that was on the Daily Show, because he's got a show on Max.
Oh, okay.
Can't think of his name. We're going to be like him and talk you down just as much as we glad you're putting our show out.
Yeah.
Or just as much as John Oliver. Thank you, Bobo.
Yeah.
We're going to be like John Oliver and totally trash you while we're still thankful you're giving us money. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 7.5. What are you giving it?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's a 7.5. It is a wonderful movie. Like I reiterated earlier, I agree. The pacing is a little bit off. I wish the backgrounds were a little more fluidic.
Mm-hmm.
And just like other than that, it's like, yeah, great movie. It is definitely one of those films that be like, I would probably watch again. Recommend to people go watch it at Max. Or go find a Blu-ray physical copy of it.
While those are still available.
Yeah, you're not kidding. That's scary for physical media guys like us.
Yeah. Well, physical media is disappearing slowly, and none of us are happy about it.
Yeah, it's going the way of the dodo bird, and none of us are happy about it.
Yeah. Either way.
Yeah.
Join us on the other side. Oh, yeah, next week. Sorry.
Yeah, next week.
I jumped ahead slightly.
Yeah.
Next week, which is not next week, it's actually in 2 weeks, but the next episode, we're getting into Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And we're starting with a Jim Henson film.
Yes.
Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
A movie that a friend of ours,
two of our friends
showed
have been, well, both are very happy we're doing this, I'll say.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I do have the DVD. I'll let you borrow it after I watch it.
Excellent.
So, yeah, that's what we're reviewing next week.
Mm-hmm.
Join us on the other side of the bumpers, and we will be talking about what we've been watching, some news, and believe it or not, some X-Men.
Yes.
For the last time.
Sad.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
This week, we suggest checking out Geek Devotions, which is a collaboration of devoted geeks that are devoted to letting people know that they are loved. They produce a weekly geek culture-infused devotional, their podcast Com Talk, and written articles, along with many other different podcast episodes, whether you're talking about books, Gundam, or bad movies. It's all designed to encourage and challenge people in the geek community, bridging the gaps between their faith and their geekdoms. You can find all of their content at geekdevotions.com. The Cellcast would also like to thank the following patrons: Ashley and Francisco Ruiz, Book of Gaming, PaulJPowers.com, and Edwin Gonzalez. If you would like to hear your name shouted out on the show, have uncut episodes, or get some special art from Jacob, you can donate to us on Patreon. So, Jacob, I have a question for you.
What have you been watching?
What have I been watching? Or the one thing I've been watching all
I
week.
actually knew the answer to this question
Yes.
already.
Yes. So a little context here for our listeners or viewers. So I get on Twitter/X, whatever they call it now. I'll get on there once in a while.
Twixter.
Yeah, Twixter. There we go, Twixter.
That's what we keep calling it.
Yeah, so I follow an artist called Joe Herrera. I followed his work since the 90s. He was a comic book artist for X-Men, getting X-Men, and about his own title, Battle Chasers. So I've noticed a couple of weeks prior that he started promoting this one show on Netflix called Blue Eye Samurai. I was like, this looks cool. So eventually I get around to like earlier this week and I start watching it, and instantly I am glued.
Mm-hmm.
This thing has me the palm of its hand. No matter what's going to happen with this show, I'm going to watch it until the end. It's 8 episodes on Netflix. Now, it is good. I'm talking good, excellent storytelling, people. This is the like, if you're talking storytelling that's done well, using your visuals to tell your story, and shadowing and paralleling, and every like storytelling done right.
Mm-hmm.
And now, granted, would I recommend this show to everyone? Absolutely not. This show has violence, gore, sexually graphic scenes, nudity, a lot of violence, a lot of blood, a lot of language. But it's done all in the scope of telling the story, And it's based in not in feudal Japan, but after the Opium Wars, where America and England had gotten themselves into a closed off Japan, and this is after the Japanese had pushed everybody out, and it follows this samurai. I'm not gonna if you're interested, granted, viewer discretion is advised. I would not recommend watching this with a child under the age of 18,
right,
or even above that. But yeah, I would, if you're of an adult consent, be like you're in college, and be like there again, I do not want someone to stumble into a sin by watching a show I recommend. So if you have struggles with something that may have sexual content or nudity or whatever, or extreme violence or whatever, you just repulsed by that, don't watch it. But if you're one of those people that, like me, who views everything artistically, for the most part sees everything artistically, I would highly recommend it. It is gorgeous. It is wonderful. It's 8 episodes. I probably binged it over the last maybe like 3 or 4 days. And I loved it. It was you get episode 5, 6, 7, 8, definitely episode 5 was so well done. It's literally, you get this parallel of the samurai and their life. I'm trying not to spoil anything here.
right.
It is so hard with this show. You get the samurai's previous life when they were younger, and their life now and the situation they're in, and it's just paralleling so well. It's spinning around each other, and it's so well done. It's just like, oh my gosh, this makes sense now. And watching it, and it ends with this, okay, this is where we're going, and it leads right into what they're already saying is the second season, which I will be there to watch.
Okay.
So yeah, that is all I have been watching. How about you?
So, admittedly, this was not an animated thing. Either one of the things I'm going to talk about today. But last Sunday, I watched the movie Tetris. It is about the very interesting legal situation about trying to release Tetris back in the 80s. The game that was developed in Russia.
Yeah.
On technically Russian computers, so they were technically, even though Pajitnov technically did the whole thing, it was technically owned by Russia.
That's right, yeah.
And there was a lot of confusion among the people who are licensing about exactly what the rights covered, to the point where It's actually an interesting movie. I do not want to spoil this film. If you like Cold War era thrillers, believe it or not, this is a Cold War era thriller.
Tetris.
Tetris.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It is done very well, and it is based on a true story, and it is authentic. And to give an idea as to how authentic it is, the two main characters, i.e. Alexei Pajitnov, the creator of Tetris, and Hank, I can't remember his last name now that I'm saying that, and Hank's daughter, who are all characters in the film, are the executive producers of this film.
Wow.
Like, they signed off on everything. Now, granted, there's a couple things in there. It's like, okay, as much as it was very important for them to get out of Russia when they did, I really doubt it was that much of a high-speed Hollywood car chase.
So I'm just curious.
To the set to a Russian version of Holding Out for a Hero.
Oh wow. So it wasn't like I think the scene from Star Wars Rogue One at the very end when they're trying to escape and Darth Vader's going to cut people down and they're trying to pass this message on and they get through the Berlin Wall.
It's not like that.
Okay.
It is. Well, okay, here's the thing. I will go ahead and tell you that two of the other people who are in this car are the characters are Minoru Arakawa and Howard Lincoln, who you probably don't know who I'm talking about when I say those names.
No.
That is the president of Nintendo of America in that time, along with the legal counsel of Nintendo of America, who are in this car trying to escape Russia with Hank, whatever his last name is. I'm sorry, Hank, I can't remember your last name. And it's like, Mario hangs in the balance, and not really, because this is long after Mario Brothers came out. But it's like, these are characters people you don't normally expect to hear action movies being based off of.
Right.
And yet this is still an action movie based off of a video game.
Tetris.
And not the video game itself, just the trying to get the game published.
Yeah.
Which does not sound like it would be a exciting film. Right. And yet it's like, you're sitting on it's the best. If you want to get a good idea as to how communist Russia was, right, and how much of a pain it was and how much fear the Russians were in, this is actually one of the few films where I actually felt like they conveyed it correctly.
Yeah.
They conveyed the absolute fear. There's one point where Hank and Alexei are talking technically against the rules because you're not supposed to have foreigners in your apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And, Hank's saying, oh yeah, I'm from the Netherlands, but I grew up in America, and now I'm living in Japan. And where have you all been to? I grew up here. Oh, I know you grew up in Russia, but I mean, it's like, no, this apartment is where I have lived my whole life. It's like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Because that's how it was. Dude, it's a good movie. It's on Apple Plus.
Okay.
I highly suggest watching it because it is a very tense, good Cold War epic. I haven't seen a good Cold War epic like this since maybe Hunt for Red October.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm going to suggest, of all movies, the Tetris movie.
Wow.
Whether you like video games or not.
Wow.
It is that good.
I will put that on my, as you continue.
Yeah. Also, last night, well, I'll put it this way. I told you yesterday that I was thinking of staying up late to catch the premiere.
Yes, I just saw something on
Monarch Legacy of Monsters.
Yes.
And the thing is, when we talked last night, we had just gotten out of Bible study, and we'd gotten out a lot earlier than we normally do. Right?
Yes.
Well, I get home, I'm thinking, okay, I want to know what time. I want to make sure I've got the right time because I wasn't 100% certain that it was going to come out at 11 o'clock Central.
Yes.
Well, I go on, get on the iPad. I go over to the Apple TV thing, and all it says for Monarch Legacy of Monsters that it's coming soon, and asking if I want to watch the trailer. I'm thinking I'll just try it later on tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go and start playing something while I'm waiting for time to pass, and
right,
and cooling down from the day.
Yeah.
And you know how when you get like a notification on Facebook, it will light up your screen?
Yes.
Right, it does this for pretty much any notification.
Yeah.
Well, I saw the screen light up from across the rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So I paused my game, reached over and grabbed it. Was like, okay, what's going on? And I had a notification from one of my Facebook groups,
Mm-hmm.
a Godzilla specific Facebook group, but
Yes.
not Nate Marchand's.
Oh, really?
This was a different one.
Okay.
It said the first 2 episodes of Legacy of Monsters is out. So I quickly went over to the Apple TV thing on my iPad, to make sure before I go to the trouble of stopping what I was doing and loading up Apple TV on the PlayStation and all that, and go, it is out. Okay, and I start making the switch over, and I watched and I got 6 minutes in, and I paused this TV. I signed over onto Nate's messenger group for the Marklight Lounge.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm already 6 minutes into into the first episode. This is already way better than the Skull Island anime. Not barely anything. All I've seen, I can say this much, all I've seen is John Goodman nearly get eaten by a kaiju.
Poor John Kite.
Well, I mean, he dies in Skull Island. So
Yeah, I remember.
this is while he's on Skull Island, so I'm not quite sure when this actually fits into that, but
Yes.
whatever.
Mm.
I'm watching this and going, this is so much better. And and I just kept watching for the next 2 hours because it's an hour-long show.
Mm.
Dude, I don't care if you did not like King of the Monsters or Godzilla versus Kong. If you liked 2014 Godzilla,
Yeah.
you should give this a shot.
Huh.
It is good.
That's what I keep hearing.
It's doing some stuff to it's connecting Skull Island and better to the 2014 Godzilla film.
Okay.
It's got I like you with Blue-Eyed Samurai.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say much because it's going to be way too easy to spoil certain things. I'll put it this way: I know exactly why they released 2 episodes, because they had to get past the point so they could finally say character last names.
Oh. Wow. Okay. Okay.
It's that good.
Okay.
The interesting thing on this one is it's actually 2 stories going on simultaneously. One takes place in 2015, about 6 months after G-Day.
Okay.
From Godzilla 2014.
Yeah.
And the other half of it is taking place in 1950s.
Okay. When Monarch was started.
When Monarch was getting started. There is one character between both that is actually the same character, but it's played by a father-son duo.
Really?
Kurt Russell plays the character in 2015, and Wyatt Russell plays him in 1950s.
Wow.
And boy, they worked together to make sure they were playing the same character.
Oh, wow.
You can tell they're different people, obviously.
Yeah.
But they have the mannerisms down.
Yeah.
And granted, they're father-son. They probably share mannerisms without even thinking about it.
Right.
But you totally believe this is the same character.
Yeah.
And they're doing so much to help to establish lore that none of the other films ever did.
Yeah.
To my annoyance. And I can't. If I go too far into this, I'm going to screw up. I know, but I will just say this does a good job of being this is another kind of a spy thriller kind of thing, because you got the secret organization that's chasing these characters in the 2015, and then this other group that's just that's looking for monsters.
Yeah.
Including a dragon. And I don't mean Godzilla. I mean a dragon that is breathing radiation.
Wow. So are we talking about a European dragon or a Oriental dragon?
It's a mixture, because ironically, this scene is taking place in Kazakhstan.
Oh.
Which I'm looking at it and going, I didn't realize any of the Stan state countries actually was in a desert. But it does make sense, as there's not deserts everywhere.
True.
But it is Russia at this point.
True.
Which is weird that they still called it Kazakhstan, now that I think about it.
Yeah, Kazakhstan.
I'm guessing that may have been the name of this Russian state at the time.
Yeah, it was.
I don't, that's my guess, but good night. It was so good. The only reason I was pausing to look at the time was because I was pausing to catch my breath. Because it's like, it was so good. Granted, this is not much like Kong Skull, the Skull Island anime.
Yeah.
We're not seeing like monsters every episode.
Yeah.
But they're being that when monsters come up, it's like a good. It's well worth the wait.
Oh, okay.
And granted, all we've seen of Godzilla is not necessarily flashback. It's not archival footage to 2014 Godzilla, but it's flashbacks to G-Day.
Oh, okay.
So, and it's very obviously connecting in characters to the point where I think I'm going to have to go back and rewatch 2014 Godzilla and then these 2 episodes again before episode 3 comes out on Wednesday.
Oh, wow. So that reminds me so much of like watching Blue Eye Samurai, watching episode 5, which I was just, oh my gosh, storytelling wise. And I look up, be like, I'm sitting there just glued to the set. Maybe like, obviously like younger people are like, what's a set? Television.
Yeah. That's him being glued to Blue-Eyed Samurai is probably why this episode of the Cellcast, the Ponyo episode of the Cellcast, is a touch delayed as he hasn't finished the art yet.
Yeah,
and I think it's because he's been distracted by Blue-Eyed Samurai.
I have been a little distracted by a Blue-Eyed Samurai. But it was like I'm sitting there, I'm watching episodes 5, and it's just epic beyond belief, storytelling, camera, whatever. I'm sitting there, and it rolls into 6. And then you get this For Whom the Bell Tolls Metallica version of this song plays up, and it just pans up, and you've got our main character, this massive castle.
Yeah.
It's just dum da da dum. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I look at my clock, it's 12 o'clock. I've got to go to bed. But I'm like, no. Tomorrow. We're finishing you up. But I was like, I don't want to be responsible. I have to be responsible. So I put a pause on it. I shut the PS4 off and went to bed. And I was like, I want to watch the rest of this.
Adulting is so hard, isn't it?
Yes, agreed.
But yeah, and that's pretty much all I've been watching. This week. So Jacob, what do we have in the news?
The Cellcast News with your host Jacob Heron.
Why, thank you, D-Lit. And there's actually a lot of news that's been going on this past week. So starting off, this is the headlining banner off of animationmagazine.net. And it's what could you wish for? Critics find Disney's centennial musical a nostalgic yet unsurprising celebration. Ahead of its official Thanksgiving holiday release on November 22nd, critics are weighing in on Wish, the newest original animated fairy tale from Walt Disney Animated Studios, which draws inspiration from its 100 years of animated storytelling tradition at the studio. Family audiences and animation lovers of all ages. I'm going into another segment here. I should have mentioned that. So apparently, it is doing okay. I saw a snippet of a headline from a YouTube channel, which I'm not going to mention because most of them, they just bash people for no reason. Was, oh, the box office doesn't look good, it's going to fail. I'm like, shut up. Like, give it time, give something to breathe before you, condemn it. Okay, second bit of news. Family audiences and animation lovers of all ages had the chance to take in a unique cinematic offering this Thanksgiving weekend. Via Pictures has announced that Deep Sea, the acclaimed new CG animated movie, from Monkey King, Hero is Back, from director, I'm going to butcher this name, so I apologize. Tyan Zomgum. I'm going to butcher, I can't even pronounce that. So if you wouldn't mind.
I am guessing Tian Xiaoping.
He Xiaoping. Okay.
Tian Xiaoping.
Okay. We'll be playing in select markets here in the United States starting on November 25th. Obviously, this is a Japanese movie.
That looked Chinese name.
Oh, Chinese. Sorry. Chinese.
There is a difference.
There is. I agree. My apologies. Chinese movie coming out that's I think it's being dubbed. But all right. So moving forward. This, I saw the headline on this. I just like, okay, why? But this morning, the time of that release, during an appearance on Good Morning America, Disney CEO Bob Iger revealed that the studio is working on the 4th movie of the Frozen franchise. In addition to its previous...
There's not been a 3rd yet.
I know!
Also, why more Frozen? Let it die.
Or let it go.
Let it die. Let it die. Give us a Tangled sequel.
You're not kidding. In addition to the previously confirmed Frozen 3, making an announcement from Hong Kong Disneyland, Iger said, well, I'll give you a little surprise. Frozen 3 is in the works, and there might be a Frozen 4 in the works too. But I don't have much to say about these films right now. But Jennifer Lee, who created Frozen, the original Frozen and Frozen 2, is hard work with her team at Disney Animation on not one, but actually 2 stories. Come on, guys, do original. Be like, yeah, they're probably gonna do an original story with this, but just go. Don't keep milking your IPs until they're dead.
We don't need the Frozen cinematic universe.
Yeah, exactly. Go back to the old days and pull out a book and do an adaptation from that.
Yeah, there's still plenty of books.
Iger.
There's still plenty of books to adapt.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe not do remake everything into a live action film.
Yeah. We've been saying this for years, but Disney's not listening.
Disney, we love your films, but come on, go back to the 1990s, 80s, 70s, 60s, where you actually did stuff that wasn't. Okay, not here to rant about Disney's current situation, but moving on to another studio that decided to shelf everything, and then all of a sudden all of these projects are coming back.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah,
it's almost like maybe you should have, if you're not going to put it on your streaming service, you should be giving it to everyone else's streaming service to get it out there. Because okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
because this is,
are you sure you know what I'm talking about?
Coyote versus Acme?
Yes,
I'm aware of this thing.
Okay.
But that got me to thinking. It's like, these can't be the only movies that have just been abandoned.
Yeah, Scoob Holiday Special.
Well, yeah, I'm including that one along with Batgirl and a couple others.
Yeah, the Batman series.
So I happened to do a Google search on abandoned films.
Okay,
because I figure there's got to be a list somewhere. I'm expecting to see something. And specifically, I'm looking for things that were abandoned before they were released to theaters.
Okay,
so technically, Song of the South doesn't count because it made it to theaters. It wasn't abandoned until home video.
Yeah.
And I found out that most of the abandoned films, there's abandoned films going all the way up to 2023.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But most of them are abandoned in pre-production. Very few actually make it to post-production. In fact, the last one I think I saw in post-production, the reason they canceled it was because 9/11 happened.
Oh, okay.
And it was something that was related to that, and they couldn't fix it or something. I don't remember what it was.
Okay, fair enough.
Or it's something similar to that. But the thing is, it was also listing about how much it costs to make up to that point. How much money was spent on the film before it was abandoned.
Yeah.
Guess what made the most expensive ones?
What would that be?
Discoveries. Discovery, Warner Brothers Discoveries. 2023 heading to Max Films.
Yeah.
All of them were at the top of the list for how much money they lost by not releasing these films and giving them a chance to make money, because you had to get the insurance payment.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if the rumors are true that these are rumors.
Yeah.
I have not seen anything but one guy claim that this is happening, that supposedly Paramount is getting ready to be sold and have its assets split between a bunch of different companies.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'd love to see actual evidence of that, because they're coming back from a lot of things right now. It's not like it was back during the Bay Turtles era.
Yeah.
But if that's the case and Star Trek's getting sold to Warner Brothers, I'm going to be pissed.
I can imagine.
But anyway, continue.
Anyways. All right. So speaking of movies that were previously,
I actually like the idea of Coyote versus Acme. That looks like a fun shit movie.
It does. So speaking of, days after news broke that Warner Brothers is shelving the new hybrid animation film, Coyote versus Acme, to get a $30 million tax write-off. Industry hitters praised the movie after attending a screening of the movie, which is now being shopped around to streaming platforms such as Amazon Video, Netflix, or Apple. Now,
I would be happy with any of these people doing it.
Now,
I'd be happy with it actually releasing on Max. Just put it out.
The one
just don't put it on Roku channel. I can't watch there.
The one that I got the most chuckle out of was, hold on, let me find this guy's name because I want to give him proper credit where credit is due. I think it's Andre Black Comedy Guy. I think his name is. I might be mistaken.
Andre Black Comedy. I know.
Yeah, Andre Black Comedy. He mentioned this, and he went on this very funny tirade and absolutely hysterical. If you had a Warner Brothers movie get distributed on Disney Plus, I would die right here with laughter.
Do it.
Do it.
Disney.
Do it.
Pay the money. Pay the friggin' money. I don't care if you've got to spend 3 times the amount you would pay on a Marvel movie. Buy it.
Yes, in a heartbeat. I agree with Andre about that. It's like, oh my gosh.
There has to be a reason on Disney Plus that we have to have movies involving Wile E. Coyote as a category, because that would officially make 2. Because he was in. No, I'm sorry. He's not in Roger Rabbit, is he?
He is for like a frame.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in there for like
I was just thinking, wait a minute. They were aiming for early 40s era cartoons, and I think technically Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner are later than that.
They are.
But anyway.
Yeah. So I love that, the idea of like Disney buying the rights to distribute a Warner Brothers animated movie. That would be epic. But all right, so continuing on with movies that are coming out. Aardman's so the long-awaited sequel adventure to Chicken Run is getting its sequel starting December 15th on Netflix with Chicken Run: Dawn of the Nugget, which is a very odd naming for a movie
because the character's name is Nugget.
Okay, well, never mind then. Because
it's a little chicken nugget.
True. Okay.
Which is horrible. Which is making me think: is Mrs. Tweedy going to be selling chicken nuggets? Is she working for the clown?
It wouldn't be a chicken. It'd be something else.
A McNugget.
Yeah, a McNugget, because you know what McNuggets are.
Chicken Run: Dawn of the McNuggets.
Official trailer and a clutch of new images have debuted this morning, giving fans something to really cluck about. I know the puns are terrible. All right, so we got another trailer. I don't know if we haven't discussed this one yet. Something about a certain cat on your table.
I haven't had a chance to watch the trailer for the Garfield movie yet. I saw the get posted the other day, but I was at work, couldn't look at it at that moment, and then I forgot about it. But this is the one with Chris Pratt as Garfield, if I remember correctly, and I'm like,
yes.
Look, Bill Murray was a stretch for the voice of Garfield.
Yes.
I would accept Frank Welker, even though I'm not a big fan of his Garfield.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, nothing's going to beat the guy from the original cartoon.
Sure.
Whose name I can't think of, but he was on Laverne and Shirley, and that's all I remember. But I don't know. I don't need Star-Lord Garfield. I'm sorry. Because here's the thing, as much as his Mario was okay, it wasn't Martinet or the new guy.
Fair.
Because Martinet is no longer doing it in the games now either.
Yeah.
But I don't need Chris Pratt telling me how much he hates Mondays and wants to eat lasagna. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. I like Chris Pratt as an actor, but he doesn't have much range. I have begun to notice.
Okay. Fair.
I say that knowing that he was in Beyond and Onward, and he did good there. But anyway.
Yeah. So yes, apparently Drew has not watched this trailer yet, so that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I have no idea what the voice sounds like if they let Garfield speak.
Oh yeah, he speaks.
Okay.
So we might have to do a reaction to the trailer. We maybe.
We may have time afterwards.
Yes. So yes, there was a trailer. And yes, about a lasagna. Sorry, lasagna. Loving Tabby Cat. And yeah, it's coming through. Let's see, Columbia Pictures and Alcan Entertainment. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it because it discusses who voice actors are and who they play in the whole bit. So no. So yeah, that trailer is out. I know I dropped it on the Facebook page for all you wonderful people to see. So going forward, and this one again from Andre from Black Crim guy.
I think we said Black Comedy, but it's
Black Comedy.
It's Black Nerd. I think.
Yeah, Black Nerd.
Because
he changed it.
It's Andre Black Nerd Comedy.
Yeah. So
whatever. He's still funny to watch.
Yeah, he still is very funny to watch. I'm highly recommending him see his stuff. He's really good.
Just don't go over there when the Smurfs are on because you don't want your eyes to go crazy with his cosplay.
Oh gosh, I've seen that. That is so weird. All right, so another show from our era, because I know we've mentioned it. I think we talked about it, didn't we? Did I do that?
Yes, we have.
All right, so the nerdish hero from the 90s sitcom Family Matters is getting a seasonal animated reprise of Urkel Saves Christmas, the movie, available to purchase on digital starting on November 21st from Warner Bros. Discovery Home Entertainment, an all-new animated holiday movie
event.
No, I'm having a hard word saying. Be like the words are like not coming out of my mouth. I know what the word is, but I fail. Let's start over. Click. The all-new animated holiday movie musical centered of the kind-hearted Steve Urkel, voiced by his original voice actor Joel White, along with Nicole Brer, Roy Wood Jr. and Kim Whiteley. The special is one of the Warner Brothers animated projects dumped from the Max lineup after the Warner Bros. Discovery merger. The project was announced to come out on September of 2021 as Yes. So it was one of these drop projects, and then all of a sudden these are coming back. They're being released on different platforms, and it's like, oh. So yeah, I saw that and I was like, I love TGIF. I loved Family Matters growing up. And it's like, yeah, and I think we did an audible for a certain.
We may have changed some stuff out.
But it's changed a few things out when this movie was announced it's going to be released. So yeah, that is all I have for in the news.
All right. Well, then it's time to finish our run through a certain animated series. Though technically we finished last week,
yes,
but we're doing we felt we couldn't leave the realm of X-Men, the animated series.
Yes.
Without looking at its original pilots.
Yes.
So join us on the other side
80s.
for Pryde of the X-Men.
Previously on X-Men.
Meet the sulky, over-bulky, kinda hulky superhero. A two-fisted and electrically transistored superhero. An exotically neurotic and aquatic superhero. The Marvel superheroes have arrived.
X-Men, X-Men, it's the day, X-Men, X-Men, come and come ready.
Spider-Man and his amazing friends, Iceman and Firestar.
X-Men, Pryde of the X-Men is listed as releasing on September 16th, 1989. I say it that way because I don't think this actually aired.
I think it actually did air. It did air in some regions.
Maybe so, but
Yes.
the date it lists is September 16th, 1989. It was directed by Ray Lee and written by Larry Parr.
Yes.
Synopsis for this. Just as Teenage Mutant Kitty Pryde is welcomed to the X-Men, the team of mutant heroes are called into battle to prevent Magneto and his brotherhood of evil mutants from crashing a comet into the Earth. Getting into the cast. Starting off, we've got Stan the Man Lee as the narrator.
Yes.
Reading what is basically what he wrote back in Giant Size X-Men, if I remember correctly. Michael Bell as Cyclops. Earl Bowen as Magneto.
I am Magneto, master of magnet.
And before I go farther, I must say I've done some double checking because I was trying to figure this out. That may actually be Earl Bowen.
Okay.
I say that because I can't find anywhere a cast list for the Konami game that this is from.
Yeah.
That this is based on. That was based on this on Pryde of the X-Men.
Yeah.
And more than likely they would have probably used the sound clips.
Probably.
The only cast list I could find was for the 2014 redub. Why did you redub it?
There was a 24 redub
of the Konami game.
Oh, I was like, they redubbed this
No.
pilot for what?
No. The 20. I think it's a 2010. It was on Xbox 360 arcade.
I gotcha.
And they redubbed it, and I'm going, why? Leave it as is.
Yes.
Because we need the Master of Magnet. And you can tell where they clipped that out of here.
Yeah.
And I still say the reason they did was because they must have been the length of the clips must have been for like the Japanese voices, and it just didn't quite work out when they put the English ones back in. But either way, Andy Chapman as Storm, Pat Fraley as Pyro, Ron Gans as the Juggernaut, Dan Gilvezan as Colossus, Alan Oppenheimer as the Blob, Patrick Penny as Wolverine, Neil Ross as Nightcrawler, Susan Silo as the White Queen, Kathy Sushi as Kitty Pryde, John Stevenson as Professor Charles Xavier, Alexandra Stoddart as Dazzler. Who? Dazzler.
Yeah, Dazzler.
As in when I first saw her, I thought, why is Captain Marvel in this from 2012 for 2023 movie? Because that's her costume, I swear.
No, it's Dazzler's cartoon in the 80s.
I know. And last but not least, Frank Welker as both Toad and Lockheed, the dragon.
Of course he's Lockheed.
Perfect sense.
So who played Toad again?
Frank Welker.
No, Toad.
Played both Frank Welker and Lockheed.
Oh, okay. Oh, oh crap, what was it? Oh, can you see your list, Professor?
Yeah. This is the entire cast list.
Oh, wow, okay.
Except I didn't put in the general.
Oppenheimer, the Blob.
Yeah.
You're like, stinking X-Men. No, you get away from this. As Skeletor.
Yeah.
And the one that always got me was she ain't no X-Men.
I'll get to why he's Australian.
Yeah, because from the what was it, Spider-Man and Friends?
Well, I'm getting to that.
Yeah.
But the one that kept confusing me when I was watching this was the voice of Kitty Pryde, because before I looked at the cast list, I'm thinking, why do I know this voice?
Yeah,
this voice is granted, it's not. I'm not placing it immediately who it was, and then I did some looking up, found out it's Kathy Sushi, and looked at what other roles she's famous for, and she voices one of the twins on Rugrats. Granted, I didn't watch Rugrats. Lil, actually.
Yeah.
But I've seen enough those voices are kind of in my head.
Yeah.
And she's doing pretty much her Lil voice for
yeah, I can hear that.
And
yeah.
And it's like, it works, but wow, this is weird.
It is.
Especially when she's crying in this thing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So getting into the trivia for this. Pryde of the X-Men was actually intended to be a test pilot for X-Men the Animated Series.
Mm-hmm.
Much to the disapproval of many fans of the comics, Wolverine is portrayed with an Australian accent.
No.
Welcome her. Wait, she's not joining the X-Men, is she? She's just a kid.
Wolverine.
This is a continuation of how he was originally portrayed in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends,
yes.
1981 episode, A Firestar is Born. Ironically, the role would be played years later by Australian actor Hugh Jackman to great acclaim. According to story editor Rick Hoberg, he gave Wolverine an Australian accent due to the Australian fad going on at the time, and it was planned for Logan to be Australian in the comics. However, Logan instead remained a Canadian.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Funding for this pilot came from the budget of RoboCop from 1988, the Saturday morning cartoon. Yeah. Instead of making a 13th episode of RoboCop, Marvel Productions decided to use the funding to have Toei Animation produce the animation for this pilot instead. Yes, this episode was made by Toei around the same time they were making Dragon Ball. And boy, can you tell.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
The series for which this pilot was intended to launch never materialized. Shortly after this pilot was delivered, Marvel started having financial issues and stopped work on just about everything except for 1984's Muppet Babies.
Now,
I love the look on your face when I said that.
Muppet Babies. Oh my gosh. My brothers enjoyed this. I hated it. Now, granted,
I'm glad that since we started doing the show, I've been able to raise your thoughts on who the Muppets were.
Yes.
Since it's just not all Muppet Babies.
Yeah, exactly. Because there again, be like, I've said this in the show, be like, my thing was like with Muppets, either it was Turtles the movie or Muppet Babies. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is Muppets. I want nothing to do with it. But it was like, I was been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again. But this be like Muppets is good. Muppets is very good. Just I probably need to go back and try to rewatch some episode.
Don't go back and rewatch Muppet Babies.
I know they're probably terrible.
I understand why I liked it as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could, much like all the quote unquote babies shows, I'm not sure I could sit through an episode anymore.
Too funny.
Anyway, this pilot was the last entry and effectively ended the animated Marvel universe created by DePatie Freeling Enterprises and Marvel Productions, which started with the Fantastic Four in 1978.
Yes.
This is Kitty Pryde's first adventure with the X-Men, is shown in the special. However, she has already appeared in the universe as Sprite and a member of the X-Men in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends 1981 episode, The X-Men Adventure. Therefore, this pilot had to take place before the events of the X-Men Adventure. In 1992, Konami produced an X-Men arcade game based on the Pryde of the X-Men pilot. Up to 6 players could choose from 6 X-Men, including Cyclops, Colossus, Wolverine, Storm, Nightcrawler, or Dazzler. The objective is to stop the villainous Magneto from wreaking havoc on human civilization. They must fight through an army of human-sized sentinels and supervillains such as Pyro, Blob, Wendigo, Nimrod, the White Queen, Juggernaut, and Mystique. Later, Magneto kidnaps Professor X and Kitty Pryde, prompting the hero to go on a rescue mission. The heroes fight their way to Island M and ultimately to Magneto's base on Asteroid M, where the final battle with Magneto takes place. The Juggernaut, the evil stepbrother of Professor Charles Xavier, is depicted as a member of the Brotherhood of Mutants in this. However, the character is not a mutant. Juggernaut's powers come from a gem he found in the Lost Temple of Sidorak.
True.
Which its mystic power transformed Cain Marco into the human Juggernaut. This was mentioned in his previous appearance in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. A Firestar is born. The pilot special featured a theme song, an intro sequence that was made of footage from the special. The lyrics to the theme song of this for this series were written by X-Men co-creator Stan Lee.
Makes sense.
Lastly, the alien dragon that was shown to be a pest on Asteroid M is Lockheed. Kitty Pryde managed to take Lockheed with her when she escaped the asteroid with the X-Men. In the comics, Lockheed is typically depicted as a companion or pet of Kitty Pryde.
Yes.
Unless you're looking at the movie The New Mutants, where where Lockheed is a friend with Colossus' sister. Not that you know she's related to Colossus. I hate The New Mutants.
I haven't seen it. I heard it was bad.
Don't watch it. It is trying so hard to be a Zack Snyder film.
Well, that was the time period.
And granted, I understand the thought process, but it shouldn't have been. It should have just been a fun movie with mutants, with X-Men. Granted, you're still talking about something based on Rob Liefeld, and that has so much weird.
It was the 90s.
It's the 90s, yeah.
Yeah.
Bless you, Rob Liefeld. You gave us such meme-worthy content. Anyway, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh my gosh. This was great. I enjoyed it. There again, I had watched before. I had a friend who worked previously worked wire work, and she mentioned it. I was like, ooh, this is interesting. So I looked it up and I was like, oh, this is really good. And I enjoyed it because there again, Wolverine as an Aussie was hilarious. I was like, what in the world's happening here? This isn't Wolverine. Like, obviously later on, Hugh Jackman would use the role in the live action films,
but he does a Canadian accent.
He does a Canadian accent. It's like, hey, bub, instead of, hey, you.
Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
Like, oh, Jesus, cringe beyond belief. But I understand where
did you know I fought World War II with Captain America against Hydra and the Red Skull.
You went total.
I went German for some reason.
No, you went Cockney.
I went Cockney and then I went German. I went into my Professor Verboten accent that I can't do anymore because Gospel by Gaslight is dead. But oh well, it's dying, I should say. It's going to die.
Oh, fun.
Bless your heart, Branson. I did
But-
have fun.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Nightcrawler, oh my gosh, he just came across the creepiest character ever. No wonder Katie was like, "Get away from me, you freak!" Not the fact that he was a mutant and blue. It was the fact that how much it seemed he was flirting with her.
What
These
was
are
weird about that is like, I swear this is the same voice actor who had to have played him in the animated series, because he sounded exactly the same.
He does sound similar. I was just like, his approach is like, first thing, it's like, "Oh, hi for Lane." It's like, "Oh crap!"
It's like, aren't you supposed to be a Catholic monk?
Instead of flirting with this teenage girl. But be like, I love how they approach it, where Katie comes in and she's introduced to everybody, and they introduce everybody. There again, an Aussie Wolverine is still funny to me.
What's weird about this is I'm convinced they must have also made a children's novelization of this special, because I remember this story, even though I didn't watch it until last week.
Okay.
I remember this entire thing. I remember Kitty Pryde phasing through the computer and screwing everything up.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. But I swear I've never watched this before.
Wow. And I'll be like,
I read a children's novelization of Giant Size X-Men too. So I was like,
really?
I know these things existed, but
yeah,
I swear I don't remember. I've never seen this.
But overall, Bill, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the you have this very odd, tense relationship between Kirk or Nightcrawler and Kitty. And it's just like the way he's willing to sacrifice himself, and the way that Kitty kind of pulls him out of the situation, which is great. And I wish they would have brought Kitty Pryde back, because they never do anything with her. Even in the movie, she's in the second one.
Hang on.
It's Kitty.
Kitty did come back in X-Men Evolution. She was the main character in that.
That's right. She was. That's right.
That being said, do you know why Kitty didn't come back for X-Men the animated series?
Because
Jubilee.
That is true.
They decided to turn Kitty Pryde into Jubilee and then have them both show up as background characters in the first X-Men film.
That's right.
And the second X-Men film.
The second X-Men film. And the third. And the fourth.
Well,
and the fifth.
At least the second one also had Colossus.
Yes. I know.
And I liked Colossus in this.
Yes, Colossus was awesome. Because I know the
hard to believe in the comics he eventually is married to Kitty.
Yeah, I remember hearing that. But overall, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the sinisterness of the villains there, because they're again, Magneto is great. Juggernaut, he's not a mutant, but it was like, okay, whatever.
And the White Queen.
I love the White Queens to be like,
so
it's like
the
throwing telepathic bolts. It's
right. And I'm looking at that going, would they have gotten away with her costume in the late 80s, early 90s? And then I think back to so many Power Rangers villainesses. And go, yeah, they'd have gotten away with that.
Yeah, true. So true. Be like the fact that this was animated by Toei.
Oh, it being Toei doesn't spook me, because it's like, no, I'm sure they did a lot worse with their stuff. I can't think of it. And I'm sitting there going, I understand why the running joke was, what skimpy outfit can we get Madam Frost in this episode? This in this issue. Yeah, Madam Frost is the other name for her.
Yeah. But overall, I enjoyed it.
And then she was Wolverine's sister in X-Men Origins Wolverine somehow.
Huh?
You don't remember that, do you?
He's
trying to save his sister from the Weapon X program, in that movie.
I vaguely remember that plot.
She turns into
Emma Frost. I don't remember that.
And then Emma Frost is in the next film, X-Men the First Class.
Yeah, First Class.
As a fully grown adult. So it's like, what's going on? That's not the same character.
It's not. But I don't remember that about X-Men Origins at all.
I remember very little. I just remember watching that and going, that's not who she is. You can't just make up crap like that. I
Well, it
say
was
of
Fox.
the film that decided the best thing to do with Deadpool was to sew his mouth shut. I'm just saying, as much as I hate Bone Claws, that's not the worst thing to come out of this film.
No,
And we're not even talking about that one. Back to Pryde of the X-Men.
Yeah, it's a great, wonderful little show. You can go watch it on YouTube.
Because it still hasn't officially been released by Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. My version that I watched said it was released by the Best Video Corporation.
Yes, same here.
And I love how it starts off with first a commercial for Spider-Man video games.
Yes. And then it does
And then a PSA to tell you to go vote.
Yeah, from Spider-Man.
Who was this video clip for? The kids are probably the ones people you're selling this to because it's an X-Men cartoon.
Yes.
And you're telling them to go register to vote? They can't. They're not 18.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
and then the Best Video Corp has such a 90s title card.
Yes, it does. It does. Oh my gosh. But it is a piece of nostalgia to What If.
Oh yes.
And I enjoyed the mesa. I thought it was great. Highly recommend to anybody who is an X-Men fan or enjoyed X-Men the animated series to go watch this and have your fun with an Australian accent Wolverine. And it is just fun.
Captain Marvel, who's not Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Dazzler. Oh my gosh, Dazzler.
This is the only time Dazzler has been shown in a X-Men production.
No.
In a cartoon or television show. Okay, what are you about to tell me?
Dazzler was in X-Men the animated series.
Okay, but she was not part of the team.
No, she
That's
wasn't.
what I was saying.
But she was in it.
She's not part of the X-Men team.
True. Okay.
This is the only time
Okay,
she's
fair.
shown as part of the X-Men team. And besides, that Dazzler and this Dazzler are two entirely different people.
Okay.
That Dazzler was the one that was supposed to be the disco queen that Marvel couldn't get off the ground for 20 years.
That is true. And so they threw her in here. They threw her in the 80s team to do something with her.
Well,
and then she got thrown into this show.
Which is like, she doesn't do anything in this. Most of what she does is in her introductory sequence where they're showing us who she is. It's like, oh, that's Dazzler's power. She can convert sound into disco lights. I knew that already.
Yeah.
It's technically a forceful thing, but
yeah. Oh, the funny thing, because I think it's the introduction. They're starting to go through and showing the clips of the characters.
Oh yeah,
you see Gambit. Gambit's not in this show.
I have to go back and watch that.
Yeah,
again
you see Gambit
because I don't remember Gambit being there.
Yeah,
I remember so many other things. Now, here's a question. I know you like the Jim Lee character designs for X-Men the Animated Series. What did you think of this much older character designs for this?
The 80s designs be like
this is based on basically the giant size X-Men design.
Yeah, it was.
Well, except for Cyclops, who is still rocking his 1960s look.
Yeah, it's true.
With two eyes in his visor.
It was the 80s. It was the 80s designs. But I enjoyed it. The brown suited Wolverine with his Australian accent.
Yes.
I enjoyed it. Be like, it's okay. I first watched it. I was like, that's Wolverine. He's got a brown suit. It's like, oh yeah, he had a brown suit at one point.
Yeah.
But
and he rocked it again in X-Men in the Wolverine and the X-Men. I mean,
yeah, he did. Like everybody else was like, okay, and then you had Dazzler. It's like, okay, who's Dazzler? And then it's like, oh, this is who this character is. And yeah, it was like, okay, Kitty's cool. Then you realize, oh yeah, the Dragon's Lockhart and Lockheed. And like, I know exactly what I'm going to do for the next cover.
Okay.
Exactly, because it's good. I think I've got an idea. I've just got to find a lot of image references of Lockheed, and then find Arriety, and then boom,
Lockheed's going to be eating Arriety, isn't he? Or is Arriety going to be riding Lockheed?
Exactly.
While they're chasing down a crow.
Or the cat.
Maybe that too. Anyway. Yeah, this is fun. Go check it out.
Yes, go watch it on YouTube somewhere.
As much as I have loved watching through X-Men for the past year, because literally we are 1 month shy of a year on this, Can you believe that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Oh my.
I am so glad that we are finally moving on
Yes.
to something, well, maybe not as fun.
Well, before we do that, I would say that we've had a very interesting run through X-Men because obviously season 1 was great, season 2, season 3 was amazing. You get season 4,
which is okay.
Season 4
it had the better ending.
yeah, and then you get
season
5. Oh my gosh, I've never wanted to conclude a series in my life so quickly when we finished up X-Men
And
season
it was
5.
only 5 of our episodes.
Yeah, on Disney Plus.
And it took so long. I barely, it feels like Beyond Good and Evil was so long ago, and it was just October.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, it has been a lovely ride through nostalgia, through watching something that was both of our childhood.
Yeah. And we now feel sufficiently prepped
Yeah.
for X-Men 97 when it comes out next year.
Yeah. At some point.
I've heard early next year,
Oh, okay.
but we'll see. They
And
haven't actually given a date.
And now we're going into another series.
Well, this is more of a you thing, though.
Yeah.
I agree. I need to watch this at some point.
Uh-huh.
And all I can say is this is eventually going to lead to us reviewing a movie with a lot of orange juice.
Yes.
So we're not going to jump into that immediately after finishing Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Yes. And I know we've mentioned to a bunch of our podcast friends are like, "Ooh, can I jump in at some point?"
Really? Because all I've heard is, "Ooh, that's that all I can say is emotional damage."
Yeah. So yeah.
The thing is, though, is I actually do like this director and things I've seen of his.
Yes.
Since then,
Uh-huh.
like the Shin series of Tokusatsu films, Shin Godzilla, Shin Ultraman, and Shin Kamen Rider.
Mm-hmm.
But and I've tried in the past to watch Evangelion.
Yeah.
And I think I got 10 episodes in the last time I tried. But it's not something I immediately want to jump back into. So the only way I'm going to finish it is if we have to watch it for this.
It's against my will. It's against my will. It's against my will.
Really feels this way.
You're welcome.
For the 5 people who actually know what Rune Knight is.
We should make that a shirt just because.
Anyway, we could sell that to all the reformed people too. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, y'all have fun looking at that, looking up reformed theology.
Yeah.
Anyway, join us next week, or not in 2 weeks.
Yes.
For the first 2 episodes of Neon Genesis Evangelion,
Along with
Angel's Attack,
and
that's what I'm trying to get to, because it's Angel Attack and Unfamiliar Ceilings.
Yeah,
if you're
Unfamiliar
going off of the English titles,
yes.
I say that because when I made this list up, it gave me the English title, because there's both a Japanese title and an English title.
Yeah.
That were on all the title cards.
Yes.
And this gave me the translation for all of them.
Oh wow.
Which is in most cases is not that different.
Yeah. So I think for this
until you get to like episode 12, and then it's like those 2 things have nothing to do with each other. I'm not sure I got that right.
Yeah. So we're gonna do something a little different with this one because normally we'll do we'll do the English dub.
And we are doing the English dub. But the thing is, there's 2 English dubs. You're watching the ADV version that you have on DVD. Actually, let's be more specific. You're watching the silver box, right?
Yes, silver box.
The Ultimate Edition?
Yes.
That has a different voice cast?
Yes.
Than the original ADV dub?
Yes.
I looked this up. I've been doing my research. I have the entire cast list for all of Evangelion lists on here because do you know how hard it was to find a place that I could easily research this on a weekly basis? And yeah, there is a original ADV dub. There's director's cut ADV dub, which is the one you're actually going to be looking at. Some of the actors are the same.
Yeah.
And then the Netflix dub, which I'm going to be actually talking about. So be ready to actually hear us say the same. It's going to take us a while to go through cast lists. That's all I'm going to say.
Shinji getting the stupid robot.
Yes. With your limited animation before you get in the robot.
Yeah.
Anyway, join us next week for those, along with, of course, or not next week, in 2 weeks, along with a much lighter movie to go along with it. Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't know how to end that thought. Either way. In the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day. His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron.
And his letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen.
His Facebook page, Drew's Photo Bin, to see his photography. His letterboxd page at GGeorge759. His Twitter at GGeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast. On Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming.
On YouTube at Cellcast.
On Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.
She ain't no X-Men. She's a baller. I know that
It took me a second to catch what that last word was.
Baller.
Borrower, yeah.
Baller.
Because literally it sounded like you said baller, and I'm thinking, what?